Hold on. Okay. Still no sound? No, I haven't touched anything. Okay. It's my USBs again. I need to sort the USBs on this box because I think they're both going out because we saw the camera flicker before and they're hooked up together. So I think my USB's dying. Okay. Thank you guys. So yeah, big week in Dune Awakening Land. This week we had the PvE PvP Deep Desert split. We had the roundtable meeting with Joel and Ole Andreas and Tomek, and then we had a dev stream on Thursday that showed us some stuff and got some clarification, I guess, and a little bit more hinting and things that as they are wont to do, and of course some maniacal Joel. Well, hello there. But yeah, I am going to turn my fan on. It wasn't that hot today. Tell me if that's too loud. It wasn't that hot today, but it's really humid and it is just unbearably stuffy in here. So that's not too loud, is it? Please tell me it's not too loud. It shouldn't be, but this mic is being possessed. As always, whenever I have the PowerPoint up, do remember I cannot see anything going on Twitch. So if fun things are happening or if there's something that I should know about, like, people coming in, let me know because otherwise I can't see. I do have, okay. We're going to look again at the trailer that they dropped. I don't have the specific DLC trailer, but I do have I have the 1.4 trailer that they gave us. So we can kind of poke at that a little bit and see what we can pick out. Lots of good stuff, and I think Joel wants to give us more. He wants to tell us more, but he knows he's going to get in trouble. So we kind of have to, theory craft a little bit with some of the things that they're showing us, what they're saying. So yeah, we've got an ad starting in a minute, so I'm going to hold off because we don't want to miss anybody. I think we should be good, but I want to make sure. In the meantime, before I forget, don't forget, we have a Discord that we tend to just hang out and be sociable and talking nerdy. Exclamation point Discord will bring that up. Also, if you have not already bought the game and you are thinking about buying the game, exclamation point Dune will give you my merch site for it. There we go. Thank you. It doesn't cost anybody anything extra. A little bit in my pocket, and when the game goes on sale, whatever, it's the same price. So all good. Many thanks, and of course, merch. We have merch. I'm kind of surprised that this is actually held up really well. This was not expensive. I mean, it kind of is, but the stickers, like Kaysen bought some stickers and he put them on his dirt bike like 9 months ago or something, and they're still on there. So the stuff is pretty good. It is pretty good. Yes, our shameless plug. But yeah, so what do y'all think? What was y'all's impressions so far of the DLC? I was super excited to see that beautiful red and that thopter. Oh my goodness. I was talking to our guildies about, what can we do with that new build set. I don't think we can redo our main base because it's a big Atreides thing, and I think it would look really kind of odd, I think, in that red. But I think we could probably put together something really awesome for the Deep Desert. That'd be a really great set to build in the Deep Desert. Obviously, you'd have to keep up with any maintenance on it because it is granite. But those windows, the floors, and the floor and ceiling were so good. Almost like it looked really opulent. And I think they did such a good job with that set. It just looks good. So we got another minute left on the ad break, and then we'll jump in. Now the DLC drops in like 2 weeks, so we will have that very, very soon. And the next PTC, I think, opens on Monday or Tuesday is the ideal for them to start doing the next round of testing. So I think as always, we'll get it probably a little more than what they've shown, but I think they always want to be very cautious because people get disappointed and then they get ragey and ugly and nobody likes that. So and save a little something for excitement. We Paolo, give Paolo some stuff to build with. Next thing you know, they mentioned in the previous meeting we had with it would have been with Jeff and Ole Andreas. This was like 3 months ago. That someone had asked, can you guys find some way to give us the decoration pieces in the testing stations, the little plants, the little nicky-nacky stuff, those kinds of things. Can you give us those things? We would pay for that as a bundle. And they hinted at it again this time that at that time they talked about a hydroponics skill, and then Joel mentioned this time there would be something coming up with Derek, which would tie into that. So the fact that we could grow our own plants, and now they've got, they mentioned the big tuber root things in the new location. So I think we're on that road to being able to have those things. And as much as I think as we want them all right now, I get why they're dripping them to us to kind of keep the anticipation and to have a plan for things to come at us, because it takes the art department time to do stuff. And I mean, the art department never disappoints. I mean, whether it be for like Conan or for this, the art department is always top notch. So I think it's just hard to be patient. It's just really, really hard to be patient. Okay, so PowerPoint, right? Let's get our PowerPoint going here. And what can we do with some buttons? Button. We need to open up the screen. And it needs to be, nope, not that PowerPoint. That PowerPoint. Okay. Here we are. Season 2, Episode 8. I have already started assembling the podcast for the 1-year anniversary for the first weekend of June. So if you guys have stuff you want to see or remember something fun from pre-launch to now that you want to include, do drop me a line. You can find me obviously on Discord. I'm quite easy to find. And I would love to find those things. We had lots of fun memes and silly times with, pineapple pizzas and things like that. So yeah, if you got it, share it, or even fun screenshots of the game or anecdotes from your communities. We always appreciate those things. Excuse me. So jumping right in, we did have the PvP PvE Deep Desert split. And one of the concerns was a lot of supposed PvP players said that they were going to go to the PvE side and deliberately grief PvE players who didn't want to play with them. Bragging about taking a bunch of thumpers and going out there and causing mayhem. There's other things that I've seen that I'm not going to repeat because I don't want to encourage bad behavior. But ideally, you can get clips from like the Steam overlay. The Xbox has a very simple to use video grabber. You can use OBS or Streamlabs. While you're out there in the Deep Desert, if you have a problem, then you can clip that and host it like on YouTube and not list it, and then send that in with your bug report and your support ticket, because we don't have access to their names. But the more information that you can send about what happened and when, then hopefully those things can be dealt with, because they do want everybody to be able to play nicely together, and we shouldn't put up with griefers. We shouldn't put up with people who are deliberately attempting to cause problems with the gameplay. They will not remove the worm. They will not remove thumpers, because those are both part of Arrakis. Those are major parts of the lore. But people abusing mechanics to cause problems for other people should not be allowed to stick around. So do report those things with as much detail as you can. Any screenshots and things like that will all be helpful. It will take time. If it happened, today, it's not going to be fixed tomorrow. It does take time. But things like you do use thumpers to reset blows. And I know a lot of PvE players haven't had to go reset large blows before. They haven't got to experience large blows before. So there is a mechanic for that. It just, it's about how are people using it. It's about context. And so just be aware that they are wanting those reports. Also, there was a lot of drama this week with the dev stream. And this was from Natasha, I believe. 1.4 is a smaller update. It is not a full chapter. Okay, there is more story coming. We just got to wait for it. There's, yes, new locations, new feature, and a whole new map in the future. Chapter 4 will be the last chapter of this book. They mentioned in the AMA back in August that they have the books all planned out and plotted out. It's just a matter of putting manpower to getting those bits done. So stuff is coming. I think theory crafting here. I think what happened is with the layoffs coming after they had their roadmap plan that impacted their ability to do stuff. They've got people doing bugs, they've got people doing content, they've got people doing consoles, and they only have so many people. They can only work so fast. And Joel had said during the roundtable meeting that one of the things about slowing down a little bit is it lets them put out better patches and better updates with fewer issues. It bothers them that they put down an update and then 5 random things break for reasons. Why do them fixing something in PTC in live? People are having trouble using their skills in testing stations. How does that happen? So they're like, this will allow us to make this process less painful, and hopefully if people are willing to engage in the PTC to find some of these bugs. And I get not everybody wants to do the testing stuff because that's pretty intensive and it's a lot, and I get why people don't want to do it, but they do need testing time. So this is it doesn't feel nice right now, but I'm hoping that it will give us better results in the near future, because we need to see more of this face. This is maniacal Joel, right? This is he was having way too much fun, and just although my son saw the crochet or knit, the yarn Shahilud, and he's like, I must have it. So I don't know how to knit. I can barely crochet, but I want the Shahilud too. And I immediately went to Etsy and I couldn't find any. So hopefully I'll keep my eyes open. Maybe we'll find something fun, because that looks. I mean, look at that face. He's just having way too much fun with that. He knew what he was doing. Okay, speaking of people who know what they're doing, I found some more concept art. I've been very lucky to find a bunch. Vladimir Lepotic is an environmental artist. Many of you might recognize this as Carthage. And that place always creeped me out. I always kind of like all the water on the ground and the green goo. It's like, that had the smell in there. The smell in there is just awful. It's just and rot and whatever's coming out of the tubes. Ugh. But I really thought they did such an amazing job with making sure you knew it was a Harkonnen space and adding kind of that creep factor to it. Again, if you know. The first time or two I went through, I didn't spend a lot of time, but the idea that these training dummies, the visual training dummies. Hold on. By the way, thumpers do not reset large bowls. Griefer use it to trick players into planting them, and the griefers would then rocket them. Somebody was insisting that because the trailer showed what is it, the blueprinted thumper that was used to reset the blows. I think in the next week or two people will figure it out. People just are ridiculous. People are ridiculous. That's unusual. I did not do that. Okay, but hey, get a VPN. I need to go sort my bots out. It was a rumor started back in the days of ceasing. I don't doubt it. People say the darndest things. I haven't been able to go out and check. I haven't been out to. We went out in PTC to a ring, but it was just like four of us. It was like two transports and two things. It was nobody out there to, and we really didn't have any need for it. The last time we used thumpers, we actually used them as attended in beta. There was a whole bunch of us went out, and we had scouts with thumpers, and we had transports, and two harvesters and a tank, and we went out, like the thing shows. But I haven't been out there since. But we used the thumpers as intended. See the worm, call the worm away. It does look a bit like a conga line, doesn't it? They did such a good job with this art, though, to kind of give it this ruined feeling. I do hope the flip side, because we see a lot of Atreides wrecks, but like this was Hark. We need to, and the new location for the water shipper thing is also an old Hark base. So we need to see, I think, some Atreides as well. I mean, we see there's a small Atreides fort in Tempo, but then we see three small Hark ones too. So we need to see some more stuff. We need to definitely see some variety in faction stuff. They did such a good job, though, with the atmosphere and the lighting in these locations. I mean, like when you think about where the glutton is, there needs to be. I agree. There needs to be some equity across the board for Harkonnen stuff, because at launch we had that Atreides outfit, which was not entirely well received. Which I get. It was a silly Twitch thing. And then the Caladan set with the early stuff. Maybe we'll get a Hark set with the next, if they do another season pass or another DLC packet or something like that. I would love to get some more Hark set. We need to get some equity. Regardless of what side you play, we need some equity. There needs some more pieces that go with everything. The Hark vehicle skins are pretty badass. I won't lie. The Hark colors look good on everything. And funny enough, the Hark skin on the Scout causes less clipping problems than the Atreides ones. When you get out of the Atreides Scout Thopter, there's always that risk you're going to get hung up and sit there and just vibrate till you die. I have that less with the Hark skins. So we can hope. Yeah, we need more stuff for... We just need more stuff. Give us stuff, Joel. We want stuff. We will pay you for stuff. Give it. But just more placeables, more things to give us some living clutter. We have, like 700 pieces if you max out your fiefs. And it's really hard to fill that up with what we have without looking repetitive. So... our main base is maxed on stakes, but I don't think there's a good chunk of space we aren't using. We haven't expanded to fill that whole space. And we do have some living spaces that are meant to be comfortable. Like we have a little meeting room. Did y'all see that table? Because we have like the war table that they gave us for Christmas. And... yeah, they showed us another war table. Did y'all catch that? I got the war table. I always like this because we see is in Carthage, but we also see it in the old testing station. The dark testing station has this too, which tells me that people have been making clones of each other for way too long. Very creepy. Very creepy. The dark testing station is probably my favorite because it is the creepiest one. But speaking of build sets, and look at that Thopter. It's just sitting there. And I'm thinking this is that sleek build. Can you imagine like the Harco livery on it, the Harco colors? That's gonna look badass. That's gonna look so badass. Yeah, it's gonna be good. I mean, just pick a color, any color of the day of the week. We could, it's gonna look good. And I like how they were talking about the feel of it. They went with that water drop feel. Did somebody give stuff out again? Thank you. Thank you guys. I will look. I will be able. I know. I don't have a lot of vehicle ones yet. I could go buy them. I just haven't gotten around to it. But I can't wait. Isn't it nice? Hey, Kason, how are you? This set's going to be a lot of fun, and I like that it's you can get it. It's going to have multicolored pieces. There's some red and some white. The floors looked so good. This and from both sides, the stairs. The lighting looks good. The windows. I mean, this set looks nice. The swatches look nice. You know, and I think they're going to look really good. Someone did point out that a lot of the sets are hard to mix and match, which is true. I still think that like if you wanted to mix stuff in, I mean, some of the furniture you can mix and match, especially like the observer stuff, and would be easier to mix in. But a lot of the furniture and placeables will mix. But that red, I was worried when they mentioned the red being too garish, but it's got a nice blue undertone, so it's not like McDonald's red. It's not, bright yellow red. I know these lamps, that chandelier, and I think they're working on getting the lighting better because I noticed in their build the lighting was consistent. I know you can freeze the sky a certain way and hold that magic moment, but I'm hoping that they're improving the lighting. And these hanging lamps and the chandeliers look so good. And then of course the swatches. We got the weapon skins and the rapier skin. The rapier skin reminds me of the lightsabers from the Inquisitors, and it does look a little bit that way. One thing my conspiracy minded thing got is, so he's got an outfit there definitely fit for the North Pole or the South Pole, for the poles where it's cold, right? Something Joel let slip in the roundtable meeting was that the the build set was very, very red to contrast with the location it comes from, which is very, very blue. So that, and we saw the steel tiered still suits also have the kind of like the winter jacket. It looked like almost like a wool lapel. And then we have this one. And then we have the testing station where with the Kirab who go and steal water from the water shippers. So we've had these hints. I still think we're going to see the poles sooner than later. We have everything leading that way for the water smugglers. So I think that we're on that road. That would be pretty badass. But we have these. I mean, it's progress. It's progress. I know. I like how even these, like the still suits and things, have like the padding that still looks like it's got a little insulation on them, so you could be wherever you go, you'll still be comfortable. and some of the color swatches on these. Can we put color swatches on these? Can we do that? That would be awesome. I can't wait to find out. We should be able to, right? Because these are skins, so we should be able to put color swatches on them. Be fun. Be fun to find out. We'll find out in just a couple of weeks. But this Thopter, though. Someone in the meeting was like, Tesla Thopter? I don't care. It looks badass. And I'm also looking in the background, the door and the roof pieces with the skylights that look very similar to the smuggler ones had the skylights. But look at the. Well, how does he get to lay down underneath it? When do we get an emote to lay down? Huh? When do we get that? The pieces, though, I'm just super excited, and that's in the Udom too. Those floor pieces look so good. There's such a nice texture to them, and the stairs. There's such a, and I like how they mentioned because it's supposed to flow like water. So it does. Everything's got that teardrop shape, that water drop shape. This new station, this is the new testing station that they mentioned. One thing I found interesting is they've got someone using the Mentat shield, which a lot of people don't use because it's too tall to hide behind in a good way. But whoever they were fighting with is actually using it. So I'm wondering if they've got some tweaks in mind for that, because no one's really used it in ages. But yeah, bring a good belt because that looks like a long ways down if you fall. I know we used it some in beta, and what I would like to see environmentally, what I would like to see is them to push us in a direction so when we team up, we have to diversify. So someone using that shield and litany against fear, and then someone else is more offensive, and make us need to have more than 3 skills. Make us need to have some diversity in how we come at the NPCs for these fights, because a lot of the skills right now are very underutilized, and some of them just need work. Why do we still have the Sappho juice? There's nothing for it. They removed the prescience from the Mentat stuff. What does Litany Against Fear do? Nothing. So a lot of those skills, and Joel mentioned this in the roundtable, a lot of these skills would need and will be getting some eyes on them in the future. He did not give any kind of timeline because, stuff happens and things sometimes take longer than you expect, but they will be working on them. Which I'm glad, because we need that diversity, because I've been using the same 3 skills for the last 2 years, because why not? There's no reason for me to swap. Yeah, we in the early stuff that they showed the person with the shield, the Mentat, going with the team into that first wreck down in Haga Basin South, and the only thing that they used that shield for was to hide behind to heal. So we didn't really see it. We haven't really seen it used a lot. A lot of the stuff that they showed in the trainer videos, the promo videos, were not even in use anymore. The people use knee charge and the sugar wire and compel, and pretty much, we don't use half of this stuff. So there needs to be some rework. There needs to be some attention put on those. One thing that they pointed out, and Joel said this in the roundtable as well as the thing after, was there would be experiments in this testing station. So I'm very curious to see what kind of experiments the water shippers are doing. Everybody's experimenting on people. Why is that? Why do we feel the need to experiment on people? What's up with people? Anyway, community roundup. Woohoo. I decided to try a different shot. That was from Smuggler's Run. A really nice spot to go take really very scenic shots. This I found on a Dune site called Dune Saga on Facebook. Cliff Newman posted this, and this is a real thing that's carved out of wood. I don't know how it was done, but that is a labor of love. I don't know how one would go about doing something like this. I need to fix that link. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't know it was going to do that. That is a lot of work. That is amazing. But yeah, Cliff Newman posted that on what was the name of the site again? Dune Saga. It was on Facebook. It was a Facebook group. I know I'm old. I'm still on Facebook. Chisel and Time. Probably there's probably some machinery stuff going on, but that was definitely a labor of love. Regardless, I thought it was pretty amazing. This is another one I found on Facebook, and it was captioned, "Might as well face it, you're addicted to melange." I was just like, it fits. It fits, right? It's where we're at. Yeah, I was wondering if that was some CNC work. I couldn't remember the name of the, you put it under there and it does the machine thing for you. Fourth trial. I think, so many of us have been playing for so long have kind of forgotten the significance of the trials in the game and how they lead us to forward in the story. Go ahead and share some whenever you're ready, Red Panda. You know where I'm at, and then I don't mind sharing them here. This one was another one from Facebook, and it was just titled "Blessed Be the Maker," and I love how people get these great shots. I know sometimes it's frustrating when you're in the weather and it's all hazy and or foggy or sandy, whatever, but it takes amazing shots. And I think it's a really when they did the world building for us to have those bits of weather is it's a mechanic that they didn't have to do, but I'm amazed that they did. This was from Shadow Walk on the official Discord. They shared their main base. I am impressed with the Thopter boxes because it's hard to park in a shoebox and then run. It's not something I would do for myself, but I know a lot of people like them. And it looks like there's a dude. I know there's a dude there on the right that is just standing there, smiling at us. That had to have been on purpose. It had to have been on purpose. But yeah, the Thopter boxes also are really high power usage. That's a lot of. But I mean, they've got how many? They got 2, 4, 6, 7 of the big wind turbines, the wind traps. They're not missing for power. It's also got a cross on it. So it's got a face and a cross. I guess I don't know. I know it's got hands and a spot to land your Thopter. Park it right there. This is from Garrick on Discord, and I thought that was there was a lot in that picture. But this was a really good sandcrawler. Someone took the basic box build and made it fun, and I think that they did an amazing job getting creative with it. And they also mixed in some different build pieces because they've got some smugglers, they've got some observer in there. The landing pad for the dude was in his lap. It was in his lap. This is from Conch on the official Discord. I thought it was a really nice big build. Another flex on power and a kind of a Sphinx look going there. Every time I think, I'm like, we have a nice functional base for our main base. It is not a pretty base, but it's functional. It does exactly what we need. It has room for everything. And I'd like to think that we set it up so that the workflow looks well and is functional on the inside, because all of the work stuff is in one space. But it's not very pretty. And every time I see someone's pretty base, I'm like, could we make one like that and still have that functionality? I don't know. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's got like 15 water traps on there. How much water does he need? And the answer is all of it. He needs all of it. That's a lot of water trap. I think all the water traps are kind of a flex, but yeah. This was from Dead Serious on the official Discord, and I thought that was a really nice shot of the Sentinel in the background. Yeah, pretty bases, it can be difficult to make them fully functional because the stuff inside is different. Yeah, well, that's where you take a Solido, and then you can fit the pieces that you want, or move a thing if you want, and tweak it without losing your initial base. So you can, and then you can always back that up. This is from Evie on the official Discord. That is a lot of build. That is, I think he's on Harmony. Hey, roll with it. We had from beta, we had a buggy that was smoking when it was parked. It was on its last leg, and so yeah, we put that as part of our decoration. We built a little pedestal for it, and that was one of our decorations. So roll with it, own it, incorporate it. This one was another one from Dead Serious, another Udom picture. I often boggle how Wally. I know. How sometimes we can just land so wrong. How can we land so wrong? This one was from Floofy NZ, because he is from Down Under, also in the official Discord. I thought that was a really great shot. We all take those shots. That's Mount Duncan in the background, isn't it? Yeah, any landing you can walk away from. Mount Duncan in the background, and I'm wondering how the deep deserts look. I haven't been out this week. Real life has got me kind of busy. What was that? I remember something like, "Boss, please help," and I go to fly them and somehow manage to wedge perfectly between rocks. I hate it when that happens. I've gone, how you can drive off a wall with your vehicle and bounce down in your buggy without any problems until you hit the bottom and you get stuck behind some rocks, and then you're like, well, I don't know. So then you're like having to, it becomes a whole thing to disassemble to your vehicles to get it out. So just because you can does not mean you can. This one was another one from Facebook. I thought it was just a great angle shot. I forget which testing station that one is, and maybe a deep desert one. But yeah, people are able to catch these moments. This one is from Coyote on the official Discord, and was titled "A Storm is Coming." Out there in the deep desert. And those are big storms. I can't wait. Some people in our guild, like Kaysen, hasn't been out really to the deep desert because his work schedule sucks, and I can't wait to take him out there and sit through a storm because it's just really cool if you haven't had that opportunity to do it to sit through one of the daily Coriolis storms, not the big wipey one. This was from Gamma Squirrel on the official Discord. They post a lot of fun pictures of their bases and decor, and yeah, we did ask about things like more emotes so we could lay down, because we can lay down in Conan. Why can't we lay down here? You know, please. That would be very cool. But we need more emotes. And this one was also from Gamma Squirrel. I don't know what world he's on, but he was like, "Woohoo, free for all!" That is chaos. That right there is some chaos. And I don't know if I could handle it, but that's mostly, and that's a very fresh blow too. That's mostly harvesters. So as long as everybody's watching the clock, they should be okay. But it's just everybody just going willy nilly. And there's one guy out there. Are there people out there doing it by hand, or are they doing solo runs? They're doing solo runs. I think for the Deep Desert, I'll cover a little bit more of this. They've got some plans for the PvE and PvP side to kind of mitigate that. And right now, there's people who haven't been out there before. So people are like, finally, I get to go see a grandfather worm blow. You know, the game's been out for a year. They haven't gone. They haven't got to have that experience. And if you haven't had that experience to have a grandfather worm come up, it's definitely worth the trip just for that. I mean, yeah, you could come back with, a whole bunch of spice, but to be able to see a grandfather worm is so impressive. I know, but the way the camera pans and that noise, it is so worth it. I mean, even if you know you're going to make it, it is very clenching, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah, they should not be hand compacting out there if there's carriers and things. I think they will learn a better etiquette. Hand compacting is better for mediums. This is from Easy Pearl of the Desert by Easy Bulldog from Pimp My Dune. Yeah, that number of people will call a lot of small worms, and this is why they need thumpers. This is what thumpers were made for, and so you really need to have someone doing thumper duty. And so there needs to be people will learn that communication that they haven't had to because we haven't gone out there. People will figure it out because the lumps will work out. But yeah, we need a pirate ship. I love it when people build pirate ships. This is from just below on the official Discord. Another great shot from Smuggler's Run. This is from Grumbles on the official Discord. This was he's got a bunch of them, but he makes fueling stations out in the deep desert because why not? He's got water hooked up there too. Which I think is pretty cool, and I hope we see more things like this in both deep deserts. People still participating and enjoying stuff because why not? There's no reason for us not to do those things. See, here's the thing, is if you get your stuff eaten and destroyed, you can get it back. I mean, there's a penalty to it, but it's not like you lost the harvester or the transport of the vehicle. I mean, and, a lesson was learned. So I get being upset, but you can get most of your stuff back, and don't take anything out into the deep desert that you aren't willing to risk. That's just kind of think ahead. But people are going to learn lessons that the PvPers learned months ago. So it's a learning process. This is from Garrick on the official Discord. I love all the Star Wars stuff that people put out for this. I think it's really, and they used swatches on their stuff up there. I think it's pretty cool. Dun 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 dun. I know exactly. I think we all like. I know where that is. Yep, we all know where that is. This was from Garrick on the official Discord. He was talking about this is their PvP Discord or their PvP Deep Desert. Hold on a second. The question was asked, am I involved with the Funcom team or am I just a player reviewing upcoming changes? I am an official creator, but I don't work for Funcom. I was involved in the like the roundtable or things, but if you have specific Funcom questions that haven't already been answered publicly, I would not have a clue. So, I mean, you're welcome to hang out and ask questions, interact, but no, I don't work for Funcom. Despite what some people think, I don't. But I think it's really cool that they're out here building, they're having a good time, and this is in the PvP side, which is pretty risky. But hey, you know, some people are willing to go do it for the double ores. And I think what one knock-on thing we might see is some lowering of prices of Melange because people are just rolling in it. So I think prices will drop to something resembling a double ore. This is from Lathidi on the official Discord. I believe that's from the Western Shield Wall. I love the Aurora. This one was from Feckhole on the official Discord. I think he mentioned where he found it, but someone else had shared a how-to for it. But he did build this one on the public one. I do like how they've used the corner ceiling pieces for decoration on the floor. I think that's really clever. It never occurred to me to do that. I think partially because then from one direction it looks weird. But I think that was a really nice build. But again, this one's high power usage because of all those pentashields. Some people do think that I do work for Funcom. I do not. I don't. I know our main base is just a big rectangle. I mean, it doesn't look awful. I'd like to think it doesn't look awful. And inside is very functional. And we have some nice meeting places that are comfortable. But if no one's going to look at it and go, ooh, ah, that's great. Because it's a big rectangle. It does what we need to. Although I do like how our big hangar turned out. It's pretty open. So I like how it turned out. This was from Netrunner via Blue Sky. That was a really great picture. I'm trying to remember where that is off the top of my head, and it doesn't look familiar. I can't remember where this is. We have a nice base. So maybe one of the airbags, possibly. See, Paolo's being too nice. Paolo's got like a whole complex over there with all these big bases and landing strips and stuff, and we've got. See, I'm thinking Simpo from the Storm, and then maybe underneath where the Atreides base is, maybe? Either way, it looks really cool. I love it when people get those great shots. This is the High Noon Rift Gates Goods Shop by High Noon on Pimp My Doom. See, this is not a box. This is not a basic box build. This is extensive. This is, and if you're looking at a fife, I mean, there's a lot of unused space here, but I think if you're building for fun, if you're building for yourself, hey, why not? The stakes are not expensive, and we don't have to pay taxes anymore. So I think that's really impressive. It's a big base. That's a lot of granite. A lot of granite. This was from Noob Deluxe on the official Discord. Heading back to the A row. The very long flight from I to A, especially when you're carrying something. Very long flight. This was from John Willis on Pimp My Dune. I love how clever people are. This is a functional base. You go in through the butt. There's a big Penta shield on the butt. There's a whole bunch of more pictures on Pimp My Dune of his stuff. You can't miss it. But I thought that was really clever. And I think he got the derpy face really good. He did just, I mean, Minecraft sheep do look a bit derpy, but I think this one was actually really clever. And you know, the dirt block and then having the dirt underneath, that was really clever. And like I said, it is a functional base. It is a Minecraft sheep. It is a Minecraft sheep. And that's where everybody's been parking bases now to get in and out of the deep desert. Once you hit kind of the end. This was from Nox on the official Discord. I would love to see this during the day when it'd be a little bit brighter, but that is a nice use of the Harkonnen pieces. And for being a night shot, it's actually pretty good. But yeah. I can build in Conan. I can. I don't know why I can't build it. It's the same mechanics. But I know part of its scale is, you need 2 walls for, or 1.5 for everything in Dune. So the wall pieces are big. Everything is very different shaped. And in Conan, you can leave stuff outside. And you cannot do that here. So, I don't need to build a fort for purges in Dune. It's not going to be a thing. So part of it is it is a skill issue. It's a skill issue. It's after 2 years, I still can't do it. Can't do it. This is from Ren Strauss via the official Discord. I think that is a pretty badass build. Very sci-fi and a nice use of different pieces. It has to be your fife to use the Slido or the backup tool on it. So if you don't own it, you can't copy it or save it. The Slido tool, the owner can copy it and give it to you, or they can sell it. You can buy them on the market. But you cannot give away or sell the backup tools. The backup tools like the VBT for the vehicle, and it is tied to whoever made it. So yeah. If you want to copy somebody else's stuff, the best thing you can do is just take a whole ton of screenshots. That's really the only way. This is the sketchiest thing I've ever seen. Kayla from the official Discord is doing the sketchiest titanium run I have ever seen. And she finished it. She's in the PvP. She's in the PvP Deep Desert with the sketchiest parking spot ever. There's no shield. It's just for shade. It's just to keep it'll be, covered. So if the storm comes through, your stuff is safe. But anybody could walk up and just grenade it. You have no safety there whatsoever. So it's like, get in, buggy, throw the stuff in the container, and get out. But hey, she came back. I think so. I think so. They came back with a container full of titanium, but I cannot imagine the stress of parking that way. That would no. This is from Tira on the official Discord. Another nice cinematic shot out there. This game is so pretty. For all of the bumps and quirks and bugs and things, the game is absolutely beautiful. I've always liked that still suit too. It is a beautiful game. This is from Yeah. They did a Notre Dame build. They posted this on the official Discord. And I believe they put it up on the market for sale. Speaking of Solitos, on their world. I forget which world they're on. But yeah, they did Notre Dame. This is a distance shot of that same thing. It's pretty impressive. Really impressive. And I don't know why I have that on there a second time. I legitimately don't. I think I didn't. That's scary. Anyway, Tony Negroni did this Seattle Space Needle. This is on Pimp My Dune. And they did it in the Deep Desert. I hope they did it in the PvE side. It would really be sad if someone blew that up. But yeah, that's on Pimp My Doom. I think when we see the next build set go out in 2 weeks, we're going to see a whole new thing of new buildings for people playing around with the new set and the new style, I guess, since it's going to be more rounded. It looks like you probably can, because you've got the bottom base at the bottom, so you could probably either climb up or use the it's gonna be so many crabs, sugar wire possibly to go up. Early on, I'll see if I can find it. There was somebody who did like a giant spider and like little baby spiders in the rift. See if I can find it, but not right now. Okay. That part's done. Yay! Oh, many thanks for the follow. I appreciate that. So I'm going to give it a minute, and then we're going to look at the trailer that they dropped. If some of you saw it, some of you haven't, it'd be really good to see. And then we will dive in. I have about 6 pages of notes for what's gone on this week, from what happened with the Deep Desert to the table call, or the round table call, and the dev stream. And I've people have very strong feelings about this last week. People have very, very strong feelings. And someone blocked me on Twitter. Oh, someone blocked me on Twitter because they were upset because somebody some months ago had said, started, I guess, a rumor, for lack of a better term, that Water Wars was going to be some PvP thing. It was going to be a whole new map. We could build there. It was going to be this whole big thing. I'm like, it's a DLC. Do not get your expectations up. And people have been believing this for a very long time, that it was going to be this big thing as a DLC. And I'm like, I've played Conan. Okay, let's keep our DLC expectations down. It's going to be a little fun little thing. If there's a story, it'll be a small one like Lost Harvest. It's going to be cosmetics. It's not going to be a big story thing. Lost Harvest took, 2 hours? And they were really upset that there was no new map to build on. There's no PvP, battleground, paradise thing going on. And I said, it's always been marked as a DLC. And they called me names. Oh. And blocked me, and I'm like, oh, so sad. But people, I get the disappointment, because I also expected some story with it. It would have been nice. But we're going to talk about some of the stuff that Joel hinted at, and I think we're going to get a little something more. Not enough info about Conan. They tried to keep it to Adult War. Conan is dropping on Tuesday. We don't have a time for that yet, but and it will be a much smaller game. Rumor has I've heard from people who have talked to other people, so I have no direct contact with the modders, but there's rumor that many of them are going to be available and are ready to do updates. They just might take a couple of days, as it happens sometimes. So we will we're going to wipe and start fresh, without any mods, and as things that we want to come around, we will add them at that time. So we are ready for fresh Conan. Um, to an extent. So with what Funcom has done with Conan, and I think the direction they're going with Dune for DLCs, is because they don't want it to be pay to win. So it's going to be little side things that don't impact the main story. Um, I think it's going, things like the people, when they saw the tread bike, when they announced the tread bike, uh, people were really upset, saying it was unfair that there was a new vehicle that only some people had access to. And I was like, and then it dropped, and people were like, "This is the worst thing ever." And I'm like, "Y'all were mad about it a week ago." Or people saying they don't want cosmetics, they wanted the story. And I'm like, but y'all were the same ones who got mad that you didn't get the beta ones. So, I get. Yes, we will touch on a lot of that. We are Case is mad about Chase. He has a guy, a thrall, who just wanders off and picks fights. He's not even a fighter type. He's like a tanner or something, who thinks he's a badass and keeps wandering off and getting into fights with people. Like I said, I understand being some upset. I understand there being some disappointment because Lost Harvest had a story. That's fair. But people sometimes get, I don't know, people are very passionate. Let's put it that way. People are very passionate. So let's look at the trailer. I don't know what the sound is going to be like. But yeah. Here we go. So yeah, that's coming. Like I said, the content bits are supposed to hit PTC Monday or Tuesday, and then the DLC will drop in 2 weeks. So yeah, so let's talk a bit about this week. So we had the PvP PvE Deep Desert split, and we've already seen lots of people complaining about the split, being really upset. I think some of the concerns are legitimate. The PvPers do want more content, and they read it as there's none coming. However, during the live stream and during the roundtable talk, Joel did reiterate again wanting to do bring back the control points and use them perhaps as a lands ride type thing that will be in the PvP Deep Desert, which will have something. He wants to find a way to make the ground combat work. He seemed a little frustrated that Deep Desert PvP turned into, instead of looking at all these mechanics that they had, the knee strikes and the armors and the weapons and things that they worked so hard to try and get done, it turned into, Thopter surfing with las guns. So he was like, we need, and a lot of PvPers are upset about that too, because there's no skill with that. So he's like, those things are in the works. PvP is not being abandoned, but it's not the focus at this moment. It will come. But one of the things that they wanted to work on is there's still a lot of problems on the PvE side. There's a lot of skills and things that need reworked. We've talked about that, poison tooth and grenades and all of those things need to be fixed. Once they work for everybody in PvE, then they can build on for PvP things. But by fixing it for now, it will work better later. That's the hope. So it takes time. It seems like for every one thing they fix, they get 5 broken things, such as the nature of software. It just doesn't do what you want it to do when you want it to do it. All right. For the PvP side, they are offering that 2.5 times rewards for like ores and flower sand and spice sand. And yes, for a lot of people, that's not a great incentive. In the larger scope of things, because a lot of people who have been playing for a long time have a stockpile. Okay. It is the first of the incentives, but hopefully not the last. And I got the impression, again, they kept it very vague, very deliberately, because people tend to take everything they say as gospel or the truth. And if they say it, that means it's going to happen imminently. So we have to be very careful that there's a lot of things in the pipe, but no timeline for those things. The PvE side. So the deep deserts will need to diverge, and this came up a little while ago. The PvE side, the deep desert was made to have PvP pressure on it. It was meant for us when you cross the line, leaving the A row, that you needed to be always alert. You needed to be watching for the storms and for other players, and so there was that pressure there that we brought to that map as players. So there was not a lot of external PvE type pressure on the deep desert. So now the current PvE deep desert doesn't have any danger at all to it outside of the storms. And that's not good. And I completely agree with that. We need something. So they're looking at what can we bring to the PvE side to bring pressures. Do we need, ambushes? Do we need, how can we create some tension there, some stress, some things we need to worry about, that will not be worm based, because they're having to adjust the worm reaction times to try and deal with the griefers, with the thumpers. So it's all a matter of, you fix one thing, 5 things as a knock-on effect have to be fixed. So those things, control points and no-fly zones and things like that for the PvP side, and then some NPC pressure of some kind on the other side. So we're going to have kind of two separate experiences going forward. And again, those things are in the works. We don't have any time frames for those, but they are aware that the PvE Deep Desert is not ideal for PvE players. It's a bit ridiculous. So it's a bit Monty Hall at the moment. So there needs to be something. And it did come up that perhaps people, if we could have the same stockpile of gear and things that experienced PvPers have, people might be more willing to risk the PvP side and going to D-Row to get those the double spice, if it wasn't so painful to lose stuff. Again, we can get vehicles back, but you're losing a compactor could be very, very painful. I get that. New content. We got the DLC coming that is 51 building pieces and 17 decoration pieces. There's weapons, still suit armor, and skins. We looked at those. Add the new Thopter variant, and I think everybody come into the Thopter variant and just imagine all the colors. Put the Harkonnen colors on that. Make it puppy black. Make it black. That's gonna look so badass. The two new locations. One is a testing station, so it will be scalable, and the other one is not. And the new weapons that were coming, they showed some dual blades. They showed some ranged weapons, that sort of thing. So chapter 3. Chapter 3 pivoted. We knew at launch that the Landsrod was not ideal. It was this came up in beta a lot. They admitted it wasn't ideal. But they also said this is what we're going to launch with for now. This was not going to be forever. So the hoarders were the ones that won, and there was a lot of problems with people having the board finished near instantly, and people were building their bases right next to the turn-ins or building over or trying to block the road so other people could turn stuff in. It was a whole thing, right? So that was not ideal, and it didn't connect to Dune in any way. It was just suddenly you at level 2 with your faction rank, you could suddenly do this stuff, and it meant nothing. It had no connection to the story. Now the factions, you go through your faction story, you hit rank 5, and then you go do the mnemonic thing, and they explain a little more about how you're trying to get influence of the house, to try and influence the houses to vote, to get Chom to give you stuff. It still feels a little detached, but it's better than it was. Okay, I would like to think it's a work in progress. The part of the problem that people have right now with that process is there's not enough contracts variety for people, because now it's you want to go up in crafting, so you're doing the same 3 contracts over and over and over and over and over and over, and so it's really boring and it's grindy and people hate it. Fair enough. Then they introduced Simpo, which has all 5 contracts. So you could run in one location. You could run a variety of things in one location. The new location they have for this next update, 1.4, does have the same thing. It's got all 5 contracts. The question was asked, did they say anything regarding console release yet? No. But Joel said that they had a lot of things, including a very big project that they were working on that was taking a lot of internal resources. So I'm going to guess that is consoles. I've heard anywhere between August and December. So it's in the works. Hello, Sorvina. So I believe consoles are coming. Once consoles are coming, they'll be able to kind of disperse. I don't want to say disperse that team, because they'll still need to do stuff specifically for consoles. But then they could, maybe rework the teams. I don't know how the teams work. I'm making stuff up. So people were kind of, the way that the Landsrod works changed. People are actually having to play the game instead of just hoard stuff. So that was a bit of an adjustment that some people really did not appreciate. There was also some accusations, and I see this a lot of complaint, I guess, for lack of a better term, that Funcom doesn't have a plan. They're doing this without a plan. I'm like, you guys they don't make games for 20 years without a plan. Oh yeah, the plan is consoles are, the last I've heard, has always been this year. I've not heard anything about it going past this year. The few times they've said anything has always been this year. I mean, yeah, we're still in the second quarter, but I have no reason to think that there is a delay with consoles. They have not said anything about crossplay, but consoles are coming. But yeah, oh, don't start on soon and early year. Yeah, it's rough out there for gaming companies all around. It is just rough out there all around. Lots of layoffs and delays, and I am involved with a couple of the companies that are doing beta stuff under NDAs and things, and it's not it's it's kind of wild because all of the CMs that I talk to for whatever companies, all very nice, and the devs are all very nice, but there's always, you can always tell that there's this pressure from execs on high that have ridiculous expectations of profit and output that just are not uh, feasible. I see games like so the Expanse game beta dropped, and people are like, yeah, it was okay, but I think people are saying that it's such a limited story. Windrose dropped, and people are buying it. It's early access. I will not buy another early access game. I played Ark. I will not buy another early access game. No. So the industry is in a really delicate position in general, and I'm sorry about that Streamlabs thing. I need to fix that. Um, let's see. I've got notes. Yeah, they're looking to apply pressure. I already talked about that. Yeah, and that's another thing with early access. The content is not going to be as much, and there's going to be. I mean, part of the process is waiting on that, but I don't really want to. I mean, I played the demo for Windrose and I really enjoyed it, but I'm not going to give them my money. Why would you have a closed beta and allow people to stream it? That's asking for disaster. Yeah, I don't know. So the people like to talk about Joel's vision. So we had this thing, and again, how we played in beta and how it played out in reality were not the same. So the idea that groups would be mixed, that guilds would have PvE and PvP players, and there would be support between the two sides, and we farm all the tier 4 and tier 5 stuff and all of the fiber and the agave seeds, and then the PvPers would escort us out to the deep desert to get stuff. That was the expectation. That's how we played in beta. When the game launched, that's not what happened. And what turned out was the markets were not being utilized hardly at all, because there was always, well, you could buy it. Our world really didn't have any. I mean, our market's still a little yo-yo-y in wonky directions. So it didn't work out that way. So they had to make some changes based on not just, some people are like, oh my God, it was just Steam reviews. That's not what Joel said. What Joel said was, if his bosses come to him and say, from negative Steam reviews, if we look at some of those, if 90% of those negative Steam reviews relate to PvP, we need to look at what that means. So that's not the only metric they use. They look at Steam reviews, they look at Discord, they look at Reddit, they look at all this stuff, and then they look at how people are playing. They're like, we see what people are saying, and then we see what people are doing, and from that they make decisions. So it can feel like we're only seeing one part of things. They send out surveys and things like that. They send out a ton of surveys in beta. I haven't seen one in live for a bit. It's the data comes from lots of places, so they're having to make these decisions based on the data that they have. And it just turned out that the Deep Desert was not playing out as they had hoped it would. I don't think that they've abandoned that plan. I think they're regrouping and trying to come at it from a different direction. Oh, hey, it's funny. The more there, and I did see a lot of the Steam reviews that were negative. We're talking about bugs, which is a completely valid thing. The more recent ones, it's kind of, for lack of a better term, funny. I played this game for 2,000 hours and it sucks. That was it. So I always take those type of comments from any game with a grain of salt. That means the mechanic changes isn't like, okay, I get that. So it just means it may not be the game for me if I'm looking at, I need to look at why they're saying those things. But yeah, PvP is not being removed. It's being reorganized, for lack of a better term. And they know that that 2.5 times incentive is not the best, but it's not the only thing they've got in the fire. Then boss health, they did say that the initial tweak to the dungeons was boss health. They know that that's not the last thing that needs to happen. They need to fix the ads. They need to fix the loot drops. They need to fix the glitches where people are sneaking in. And they said, while knowing a guy can run a testing station at level 150 naked is amusing on one hand. On the other hand, it's not necessarily great game mechanics, because if the strat is don't get hit, then there's a game mechanic that they need to explore to see what can they do to make it more interesting, or reorganize the levels, because technically those can go up to 999, which is quite high. And if the strat is don't get hit, I don't know. But yeah, they're looking at making things more engaging, fixing queues. Part of the problem, I think, with the queues was if it was better to run the testing stations with 1 instead of 4, instead of 1 instance, now you have 4 instances, and that's just math. So getting it to where people can run 4 at a time as they were meant to be, 4 grow in and then have a reasonable experience instead of a redonkulous one, that will help. Yeah, and I get the why they're running naked, because the math is crazy at that point. But I think they're also looking at is that the best way, or what else can we do to keep it interesting and challenging? Although I think it would be very challenging to go through. I get shot at all the time, and I don't go up that high. You and I ran some testing stations and died a lot. Okay, I died a lot. Let me clarify that. I died a lot. Skills need to pass, and we've talked about this before. Like the Mentat Poison Tooth is weak. The Bene Gesserit Litany Against Fear, who uses that? Sappho Juice. It's just a thing. I've never had any in 2 years of playing. I've never touched it. The Mentat Shield. We saw someone using it in that video. That's the first time in ages we've seen anybody using it. Yeah, the stations need some balancing passes. And so these are all things in the works. And again, fixing these things leads to having better PvP, because all of the math will already have been done. It just takes time. As we can see, every time they fix a thing, 4 things break. They fixed a thing last week in there with the attractor field, and now people can't target people with compel. How are those touching? What is wrong with that? Well, I'm not lazy. I don't like to stand still. I'm just half blind and I can't play well. Raids. So one thing that they asked about in the call was raids. And this has been asked about many times before. And Joel has said the reason our team sizes are the way they are. So we have a guild of 32. That's 8 4-man teams, right? Or 4 8-man teams for raids. But he said the problem with raids is because this is not an RPG, it's just RPG-like. We don't have all of the archetypes, all of the classes that you really would need to do a raiding effectively. There's no healing class yet. He did say yet. So they are working on it. And I'm wondering if that's going to relate to the botany person, the botanist under a planetology thing. I don't know. But he did say that was something that it comes up a lot when he talks about raids. It's not something if you ask him about matchmaking, they say no. When you ask him about raids, he goes on all of these mathematical reasons, but the problem is, which tells me that they've considered it, and they are considering it, because they haven't said no. They've said these are the hurdles we have to overcome. So I read that as things could change and we could get those things down the road. Just not today. But they are looking at doing a balanced pass on all of the skills, because, yeah, a lot of them need work. The turret's great for Haga Basin. And like if I run a solo testing station at level 1, because I don't have any reason to run them any higher. It helps. I mean, if someone's shield comes down, it helps. But after that, it doesn't. So when you're running the higher tier testing stations, it's useless. So those things need adjustment. We need some TLC to make things more viable outside of Haga Basin and into the testing stations and PvP. Right, those things need adjustment. Let's see. Oh, the DLC. Okay. DLC reactions have been mixed. Some people had it in their heads that it was going to be a thing that it's not. And I think and I get that they're upset, but again, people get a little vocal about how they talk about it. Yeah, this is something that came up. I want to talk about this. We mentioned to Joel and Heffy and those guys in beta because we had played the loop several times, and our thing was there. You don't have enough content yet. You don't have enough content. And Joel was like, no, it's okay, because he said marketing shows that the average player of this type of game is going to spend 250, 300 hours and move on. And they were okay with that. That's typical, what to expect. He said it'll be fine. He's like, you guys in here in this beta are a bunch of freaks of nature running this, especially as hard as you've run in a beta. Regular people won't run it. And every time we have a new wave come into beta, I would always say, welcome to your new addiction. There's something about this game that just gets you, and you're running it and you can't stop. And people thought it was weird, and then the game dropped, and now a year later, people have 2,000 hours in the game that we were expecting 300. And so people did go through all of that content very, very quickly. The first part of the game, Haga Basin South, is amazing. You feel the pressure. You feel the tension. You feel the terror of the worm. You're always worried about your water. Then about the time you get to Steel Tier, all of that kind of falls off. Once you finish everything in Haga Basin, it doesn't feel like there's something to look forward to right now, because it's, the grind of the Lion's Rod, or go to the Deep Desert and get some spice. There doesn't feel, we need some story back. We need some of that. And they've mentioned working on getting more things, because I asked for things like when you go to the hubs, there's the kiosks that have the little side missions. Like, can we have some little side missions, some little immersion things? We've got the space hippies that keep killing themselves off in Haga Basin. We have the assassin woman. We need a little more variety that can give us a little more of that. Jeff said at the time, he said those are really hard to do because, like in Haga Basin, everything is built over, and you have to find a place to put them. He didn't say no. They didn't say no. So those things are coming to give us a little more content. But we know life in 2,000 hour a game that was meant to only have 500. We do need some worm fear. I think what's going to happen, this is me speculating. If you listen to the Harvester radio, one of them is a murder mystery, and it mentions there's a storm that came that grounded all of the vehicles, right? Grounded all the vehicles. So I think what's going to happen is we're going to have an event or something, a storm type event that will ground all the vehicles for ground-based combat. It would be a way that they could make it work. It would have to be probably something scheduled, like, okay, like a raid time type thing, so when that's going to come. But I think that would be a way to work in a ground combat situation in the Deep Desert. And just theory crafting, just guessing. What do we got here? Sorbina has sat in the official Discord. We've been sitting here watching all of this. I don't know who started the rumor, for lack of a better term, that wars meant it was going to be PvP. It was going to be this PvP paradise. I was like, it's a DLC. It's not going to be so limited. It's because that would be gating that kind of content behind a paywall, which they will not do. And people don't listen. So you guys are all running these higher level stuff. I think Serena and I forget what level she drug me around in. We do need some fear of the worm. We do need some environmental pressure. We need to be forced to choose what we take anywhere. We need to be, because right now, you've got extra cargo space in your vehicles. You've got extra cargo space on your person where you can carry 5 bodies at a time. And we don't feel that pressure so much anymore for the limits of the environment. And we need to feel that pressure again. One of the reasons, like, we play Conan, and Conan has a lot of environmental pressures. It's got food, it's got water, and it's got temperature. And those things can get you. We had more environmental pressure early on in the beta, and what was happening is people who came for Dune but had never played a survival game did not last. And so they had to find a balance for people who wanted to play a pseudo RPG Dune game but were not combat players, because RPG players don't always have the same combat skills as survival players or PvP gamers. So trying to find that balance to try and keep the most type of players involved, because the story, right? And what we have feels a little backwards, because we have all that pressure at the beginning and then it tapers off. We should have less pressure at the beginning and it should increase. We need to be forced to choose when we go out to Deep Desert. Still suit. It shouldn't be I'll go naked. No, you should need a still suit, right? You should need that pressure. We need some more heat. We need more storms. We need something to make it feel more like Arrakis. Let's see. DLC. Oh, one thing the DLC set is very red, which contrasts heavily with the water shippers area, which is very blue. And if you've watched the trailer, which we have, there was no blue background there. That was in a big hole. So Joel let drop a tease that where the water shippers are is very blue. So that combined with the furry stillsuit and the water shippers and the Karab, I believe in my dark little heart that we will see the polar caps before too long. I want to believe that they have that working. I know I haven't finished chapter 3 yet because I just haven't gotten around to it, but I know that the end of that links to the smugglers, and the smugglers Tuic is out of the poles. So again, we have all of these things that are pointing to the poles. I think we will go eventually, and so we will need to worry about cold. Please, Joel, make us worry about the environment when we go. I already mentioned that. Exactly. They need to. As hard as it feels right now, as much of us as we're clamoring for content and more things to do, we need to get things stable before we move forward as much as we can. We will not be killing worms. You can't kill worms. In the books, when Paul and Kynes and his dad are going out to the refiner, they ask about killing the worms, and Kynes tells them, short of a nuke, you're really not going to kill a worm. So they'll have to find something else for us to do, but we won't be killing worms. The Sardaukar would not appreciate the disruption to spice production. Yeah, I saw that, and because it was implied, I think, not too long back, that Joel had said that there would be more survival mechanics. But I think we saw that as Water Wars when it actually would be the chapter thing. And that was a hazard, I think, of having the two drop at the same time. So they've split them now. We will see. But yeah, I'm wanting to hope we have some survival mechanics. I wrote this into my notes. Someone asked earlier because I wanted to be. It's been a rough week. I wanted to say it keeps coming up over and over again. I don't work for Funcom. Contrary to popular belief, they do not call me up and go, Meg, how should we do this? They don't. They do not. They ask a lot of people a lot of opinions, and people are very free and vocal with their opinions. And when they do stuff, again, they look at a lot of data. I'm not it. I'm a voice of thousands. So I don't work for them. And if something's not working or if there's something you don't like, it's not my fault. I did not do it. I didn't. I don't. I get that. I mean, I've been very, very fortunate. I am, in the creative group, and I've been very fortunate, but I've worked very hard for that. And, I started with Conan and did stuff for that, and was very, very lucky to end up in the Dune beta before I was even in the Dune Discord. So it's some of it's luck, some of it's hard work, but I don't work for them. I don't have them on speed dial or anything like that. The last line I wrote with this was, I'm here to talk about what's happening, not to be blamed for it. It's not my fault. The story should be accessible to all because it is solo play. You are correct. And that is a weird thing. And I've got to wonder if that's why they changed it from MMO, because the story itself is solo only, which is a very weird choice. But then they set up other stuff for guilds, but then they make it very hard to find other people to play with. So we have all these contradictory mechanics. Most of us in my group, we played together in the beta. I knew Paolo from Conan before that. I knew Kaysen from Conan and stuff before that. Everybody else we kind of did beta with. So finding other people, making a guild finder, making it easier for people to find each other to play with would go a long ways. And there needs to be something that requires strongly encourages groups, because right now the testing stations don't strongly encourage groups. It strongly encourages solo play. You can solo out and go out and get spice. People have been doing it for weeks, months. You can do it. They wouldn't make a matchmaker. They're not going to make a matchmaker. Part of that is, I think, with the PvP things like matchmaker, they're looking at setting up the arena for PvP. But a matchmaker would be putting a lot of manpower and resources to a small percentage of the game. Now, we all know that things can change. They might change their mind. If there's enough demand, if there's enough people coming back and starting the game, they could. They absolutely could. Will they? I don't know. I don't work for Funcom. But an arena where there's just minimal risk to your gear, that would be great. Durability is a thing. Should continue to be a thing. I know some people are like, get rid of durability. Durability is a huge part of survival gaming. Yeah, and so we need some things that need to be. Funcom's in a weird spot. Before launch, a lot of people, and I've talked to people who were coming from Conan, who are small groups or individuals. They have lives. They aren't really up for a live service game because it is such a demand on their time. Kaysen hasn't logged in since early March. We have another player. I've been filling up her stuff. She hasn't been on since March. Stuff happens. And so it makes some people just don't want to commit to something that they can't commit to. Oh yeah, let's be in a guild, I'll do stuff, and then they don't show up. We've seen it over and over with other guilds. People say they will, and then they won't. So trying to find a balance so that those people can still play. They are closing some of the smaller worlds, hopefully trying to condense some people. But the flip side of that is if they set up so people can self-host, some people will disappear for that too. So it's a weird position. We need to be able to find other players. My problem is that I have people approaching all the time saying they want to play with us. I'm like, well, you can play, but you can't be in my guild because I don't know you. I did that in beta. You would think in beta that, when you're, all in secret spot, that they would be trustworthy. They are not. They were not. We got robbed big time. So for me, it's not that I don't want to. It's just I won't at first because trust has to be earned. And there's too many stories of people getting robbed. So there's that too. I mean, it's trying to find, and so they need to fix the permission systems for guilds to use. They need to have logging, real logging, like we've been asking for since early beta, to see what moves around. So if someone does rob you blind, you know who it was. There does need to be some way for us to find other players to play with, especially for solos, because I know I ran a couple of the early testing stations with people out of the faction chat, because I'm like, help. But that was risky because, people, what if they decided to leave me there? Stuff could happen. So there needs to be some better systems. I absolutely agree. Logs are so inconsistent. And so there's lots of systems that need some attention, and I hope that they do those things. But we have the 10-year plan. I want to be hopeful that things will improve. A lot of games are janky at first. I'm looking at Conan. Conan's come up on 9 years, and we play Conan. You learn to embrace the quirks. But you learn to embrace the quirks, but sometimes I think one thing that helps me is to kind of differentiate. Most people can play Dune most of the time. The bugs are problematic, but most people don't have those severe issues. The problems come with the mechanics not working properly. That was not logging, that was a kill feed, and I missed the kill feed. I think it was just because it didn't log, it just scrolled. And I think they were worried about griefing with it. This is how we know Prestoy and Mojo kill Moadib. There's lots of mechanics that I hope they add, and I hope that they are able to work those things into the game to make them more viable for groups. Not saying making things you have to run with groups, but strongly encouraging group activity, grouping up. But in the flip side of this, people need to be able to find other players, because if someone's a solo because life happens and other friends want to play Dune, then they would be at a disadvantage. So, consoles are coming soon. We don't have a date. We do know that the anniversary is coming. I don't know what they've got planned now. Old Andreas did mention another event like the one they had with the Sentinel set. So when there's 2 new Landsraad things to run. Later this year is for console. They haven't given any date yet other than this year. They keep saying that they're working on it, but after that, I don't know. They've been very closed-mouthed, which I understand. Yeah, we don't have a date yet. Dates would be good, but I get why they're not. And this is valid. And PvPers need a real incentive to PvP other than just kicking each other around. Sometimes it's fun, I would think, but there's nothing really to fight for. And a lot of skills are broken. This is what I was saying. Getting skills fixed now for everybody will help PvP as well. So to say that fixing skills is for PvE only is not true. But that revamp needs to happen across the board. Hell, hey there. Shakira is another content creator. She does a lot of Conan stuff. If you don't already know who she is, absolutely go follow her. She does fun stuff. Hi, hi. So I think they've got a plan. I think that it's more than penciled in. It's just a matter of putting things together. I think when they came up with the plan, hi, hey, energy, there you are. Um, when they came up with the plan, it was with a bigger team. It was pre-layoff. So, and then things happen, and yeah, it is really hard because you know that Conan and Dune have both been labors of love. They're huge Dune fans, huge Dune nerds, and you can see it whenever they talk about it. I mean, you saw Joel and his. Did they ever release the container for the carrier to add items to? No, it's a vehicle. So that will always be, it's a vehicle, not a box like the aluminium boxes or things like that. And the reason they won't treat it like one is one of the advantages in having it as a vehicle. One, the carriers treat it like a vehicle and like a buggy. So it's made to pick up vehicles, not actual boxes. But two, it allows you to lock a big old container just for you. No one else in your base can touch it. That can be your personal thing, and it cannot be used. No one else can build from it. No one else can steal from it. They can't move it. They can't borrow it. It's just yours. And as such, it is coded to be able to be picked up by the carriers, like the buggies. Yes, the stream bot. I can't. I'll have to log off to fix the stream bot. So let me look here. We've got it's like the communication they had on the last live stream. I hate it when the game companies clam up about what's about to come out for a game because they're afraid of criticism. I don't think they're afraid of criticism. I mean, in fact, that Joel showed up after everything that's happened. I think that they are not necessarily fearful of criticism, but they don't want people to take what they say and run with it in a weird direction, like Water Wars will be a PvP DLC. That's what people took Water Wars and ran with it. So I think they're trying. Joel was definitely Joel. I think that was an attempt to mitigate some of the conspiracy theories, for lack of a better term. We shall see. Well, thank you for coming, Energy. Dune is pretty awesome. You see, we got Dune stuff. Big Dune fan here. Thank you for the subs, guys. I appreciate that. I think one of the reasons that the Fremen aren't as prevalent yet is one, we haven't found them, but we aren't going to get stuff like worm riding. We're not going to get stuff like we can get the unfixed blade, but it takes Fremen knowledge to do so, and we don't have a Fremen to teach us. And so we know Stilgar's out there. I think we're going to find Stilgar sooner than later because that's where Zantira told us to look. Right. But we're not going to be living out our Fremen fantasies, I think, because the Fremen are notoriously hostile to outsiders, and we are not the Kwisatz Haderach. We are not the Lisan al-Gaib. They think Agent X is that. So we shall see what direction they end up going with it. I have a theory on who we are as it relates to the Fremen. So either, we are related to Zantira, as I've said before, or if Ari is indeed a reliable narrator, which I question sometimes, if she's a reliable narrator and you have to be bio-coded to get into the Fremen doors, that means we are somebody Fremen, like Kynes. And which would explain why we are hidden away if we are Kynes. So that could be because Kynes is missing. And Joel refused to ever really say, is Kynes a man or a woman in the game, because they already lost their stuff over Kynes being a woman in the movies. So if we are Kynes, that could be. What do we got going on? We got a nice scroll stuff. Joel was definitely Joel. Natasha always looks panicked. I think she's always waiting for Joel to say something. There is a big update coming. I think we will see some things again. If the PvP update at the end of the year could be those control points that Joel has said he wants back, because that adds some meaning to PvP. The CommuniNet is not for game updates. That's for what's going on in the community. So maybe a blog post might have been better. It is kind of what it is. So yeah, this was on YouTube, so I'm going to share this here. Anyone who thinks it's going to be a PvP LDC needs to examine how they interpret the things from the devs. This isn't that kind of game, and I haven't played other Funcom games, but I have played Conan, and their DLCs are always more limited in scope. And the idea is that they don't do pay to win. They don't lock content, for lack of a better terms, behind a paywall. And I say that with this because Lost Harvest had a little story with it, but nothing in that story impacted the main game. You could play everything just fine, never touch Lost Harvest, and people could make and give away the tread bikes. Right? Those were not locked behind purchase of the DLC. There was nothing there that you missed as an opportunity in that DLC. And I think making a PvP DLC would make I think it would break that concept. Right? I think the fixed Chris Knife, when we first got those back at the end of betas, when that whole process first happened, people were asking about it, and Joel was like, you have to find a Fremen to teach you how to do it. With the implication that we would someday. Soon. See, and I'm kind of like this too. Game developers aren't obligated to tell you too much. And I like the idea of some things being a surprise when they first pop. They let us into Dune, those few days early. They let people come and play a little bit early, and I thought it was great to see people's first reactions to being on Arrakis. And I was a little frustrated when people kind of spoiled the edges a little bit of those first steps in the Arrakis. I mean, the world is immersive, and there's lots there. There's lots of story, and there's lots of things to see and do, but you got to experience them for the first time yourself. You only get that one time. So again, I understand why they're not exactly what open with everything. See, that implies they need money, and I don't think that that's it. I mean, yeah, every company wants to make money. Don't get me wrong, every company does, but they've also said that they're not going to do microtransactions, which would make them a ton of money. We would throw money at them hand over fist if they would give us skins and more furniture. We would, but they're not going to do it. So they don't need the money. I think they're trying to be more mindful with how they monetize things, though. And I get wanting more consistency with them saying things. But again, every time it feels like when Joel says something, people lose their minds, or Iggy says something and they lose their minds. Or worse yet, there's so many people who are not on social media with the game, who aren't in the Discord, who aren't on Twitter or Facebook, and oh Lord, the God, stay out of the Steam forums for any game. So they aren't getting that experience, and so they just suddenly get an update. See, and this is the thing, DLCs are a monetization method, right? You get a bundle, and you get it, and you go. You're not getting a skin here and a skin there and a skin, it's not. They did this in Conan with the Bazaar, and the pieces they put in the Bazaar are beautiful, and they're stupidly expensive. They are stupidly expensive. Conan players could. It, to be fair, people absolutely would pay for those things. They absolutely would. So I don't think that they're hurting for money. I think it's a matter of trying to pace things out and give them to us in a meaningful way. When Lost Harvest dropped, they had the event that was linked to the Lost Harvest. It wasn't just guns going off. It was somebody shot that harvester down, right? And then we had to go do the thing. It was not just about noise for 2 solid weeks, because that was ridiculous, right? Oh, sorry. The way the Dune Awakening community, I like you put that, reacts to even the slightest sense of controversial, unreleased content is the reason why they have to keep things under tabs. People do theory craft pretty hard, and people do. I try to remind myself, people are very passionate about Dune. People have a lot of strong feelings about Dune. I disagree with some of those things. One of the common things I see is saying that the Deep Desert PvP was lore based. Okay, first off, not so much. But the reason it's not in the game as lore is the opening scroll tells you, right? Let me tell you about the world you do not know. In a world where Jessica was obedient and did as she was told, Arakeen didn't fall, and there is a cold war. There's a war of assassins here under Canley with the Sardaukar here to enforce it. Nothing will disrupt spice production. You guys can stab each other in the back all you want. You can poison each other in the background. Don't care. But no open warfare. And so I don't think we're in another. We're not going to get faction warfare. The closest thing we have is the Landsraad, and it's always very skewed, right? So people kind of. We all need to have our expectations in a reasonable place for what we have right now. Could we be aspirational? Absolutely. Absolutely, but I don't think we're going to get full faction warfare because of between the War of Assassins and the Canley. However, one thing that I asked in that meeting that we had was about moderation, and I said, if we're out on the deep desert and somebody comes up with the thumpers and starts being ridiculous, we have no way of legitimately easily confirming who that is because we've got no nameplates. We don't get to see anybody's name, right? Which I understand why they did it for PvP, but at the flip side of that, we can't report people who are being an issue. And so they were like, can we toggle it on or off? And one person asked, maybe have it so we can see their names if we're looking through binoculars, which would make binoculars valuable again. But what Joel said was one of the reasons that it's off is if they ever do an ambush mechanic like what we see in the movies with the Fremen popping out, then having their names above them kind of marks them in the sand where you could see who everybody was. And I was like, you guys have given that some thought. That was also something they kind of hinted at and talked around back in beta as well. The ambush mechanic that we saw with the snorkeling. That was another thing that I think that they would like to make happen in the future as a ambush, and it would be really cool to do because it adds something dynamic to PvP. The problem is we already have something similar where people are hiding out with the still tents. We just have to wait and see. Hold on, stuff scrolled. Those cannons are so annoying. I spent those 2 weeks on the PTC. I didn't get any of the cosmetic stuff because I could not stand being in Hugga Basin for that. It set my vertigo off so bad. I could not cope. I could not cope. But I like the idea if they can make an ambush mechanic work where we could have those I don't want to say organized, but like here, go do a thing, and then have the potential for an ambush here, like a capture the flag kind of thing, or that could be really fun. And my Twitch is I'm watching so I can see both sides here, and it's being a little difficult. Hold on. Buttons. It's been a while since I've had button issues. Buttons. It's always the buttons. There we go. Okay. But they have ideas, is the thing. They didn't shut us down and say, no, we're not going to do that, like they did for the ranking things. The matchmaking. Yes, the words was good. That was a pretty much, no, we're not going to do that. But other things that they talked about in detail about, we've kicked this around, and this is a mechanic that we'd have to fix, and this is an issue with there. So they've given these things some ideas. They've thought about them. So I don't think that those are a no, we're not going to, because they could just say no. And they know that they can't tease us too much, because we will take that and run as, oh, you're doing it tomorrow, when they're not. So have to kind of balance that. Hey, there's cool things that we were thinking about doing versus these things are coming next week, because they're not. That VPN thing is bugging me. While I'm thinking about it, though, we do have a Discord, ! Discord. We'll give you our link. We are mostly nice people. We are nerdy stuff. We do Star Wars. We do Conan. We don't do Star Wars. We watch Star Wars. We talk about and play Conan. We talk about Warhammer and other stuff that's fun. We just kind of nerd out. And Paolo keeps showing us food that he makes in Brazil, because he's a mean man. Then we have... we do have merch. My son made all those for me. Kason, do you still have those stickers? I was talking about your stickers earlier. I'm so thirsty. I know, Paula. That poster was from GamesCon 2024, and that was sent to me shortly thereafter. I haven't got the stickers. It was GamesCon. So I've got and the bag. It came. I know. I've got some of the stickers are in my Atreides mug. That one. I did not get to go to GamesCon. Those were gifted to me, along with the pins. And yeah, the Lego Thopter was a birthday present. Ah. I only have the first T stuff. I didn't get the second one. I had thought about the album, but I don't have a record player. So yeah, I got nerd stuff. I had the nerd stuff. I heard it was awful. I heard it was very hot. Oh, that'd be very nice. Yeah, I love the idea of going to those things, but then there's 800 people at those things. I cannot handle that many people. I absolutely cannot handle that many people. I'd hyperventilate and pass out and be all dramatic. It would not be good. I think that was everything I wanted to cover. I'm not a fan of the tea. I don't care much for black tea. I did try it. It was not stupendous, and it does have a lot of caffeine in it. I've wanted the blue one, because I want the poster thing, the end game thing. That's the only one I don't have. Is the one that came with the Water of Life one. I don't have that one. I don't know anybody who does, because that stuff's expensive. But for the anniversary, if people have, kind of to reiterate, if people have fun memes, if they have cool screenshots of stuff that happened anytime from, like in the Discords and things from before launch that aren't under NDA, to now video footage of fun stuff that's happened, ridiculous things. I have video footage. We did, the cutoff date would be probably the Thursday prior to the date, which would be uh, June 4th would be the last I would be able to take stuff, because I usually try to have the PowerPoint and everything done a couple of days prior in case stuff happens. But we went out to the deep desert and did stuff, and I wish I could show that, but it's all Thunder 98. It has that lovely watermark that some of you might remember from the beta. But yeah, all the ridiculous Iggy memes and pineapple pizza memes that we did, and all of the stuff for soon, and just we did a lot of fun stuff. Plus all the video footage of things that people have done when they've gone out and done stuff, and TPKs and that kind of thing are always great because they're fun. They can be the fun ones. Okay, don't show us the sad ones. But yeah. I think we're coming up to the end. Was there anything else I missed? We talked about the deep desert. We talked about the round table. We talked about the dev stream. I think that's got us all. The new content will be hitting the PTC on Monday or Tuesday if you're up to testing it. They do have a nice system now that you don't have to completely start over. You essentially do a drop down stuff, and you can essentially skip levels and magic up whatever materials you want. And I think this is a good stopping point for us. Many thanks to everybody who was able to come up. Many thanks for the subs and for the follows. I really appreciate you guys. It makes it nice to know that people are interested in what's going on in the game still. It's got its quirks and it's got its issues, but hey, we're here for the long haul, right? We're here for the long haul. That's the plan. There's the plan, and this is what happens when we get the plan. And I will catch everybody later, and I will see you guys out on the sands.